The massive alien ship appeared without warning. One moment Earth's skies were normal. The next a vessel larger than Manhattan hovered above the United Nations building in New York. Global panic lasted exactly 6 hours before the aliens made contact. "We come as friends," the message said in perfect English. "We represent the Galactic Council. You are not alone." Captain John Harris stood at attention as the shuttle prepared to dock with the alien vessel. His palms were sweaty inside his dress uniform gloves. As commander of the U.S. Defiant, Earth's most advanced warship, he had been chosen to lead this first diplomatic mission. Behind him stood Admiral Patricia Wells and 5 other officers representing Earth's military and scientific communities. "Remember," Admiral Wells whispered, "show strength but not aggression." The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss. They stepped into a massive chamber with walls that seemed to shimmer with their own light. 12 different alien species waited in a semicircle. Some looked almost human. Others defied description. A tall, blue-skinned being stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Excelvor of the Galactic Council. We welcome Earth to the interstellar community." For 3 hours, the human delegation learned about the Council, 12 advanced species that govern most of the known galaxy. They offered Earth membership, technology, and protection. "We have watched your development for centuries," said a floating creature that resembled a jellyfish. "Your species shows promise despite your violent tendencies." "Speaking of violence," said a reptilian being named Drax, "we should discuss military matters." He touched a panel, and a hologram appeared showing Earth's weapon systems. "These are quite interesting." Captain Harris noticed the small smiles exchanged between the aliens. "You still use projectile weapons?" asked Drax, pointing to images of tanks and battleships. "And nuclear devices. How quaint." Admiral Wells stepped forward. "Our weapons serve our defense needs." A ripple of what sounded like laughter moved through the alien delegation. "Of course," said Ambassador Excelvor, "but you should see true weapons." He waved his hand, and new images appeared, ships that bent light around them, cannons that fired what looked like small suns, and handheld devices that could apparently disintegrate mountains. "Energy-based weapons are the foundation of modern combat," explained Drax. "Your projectile weapons, bullets and missiles, became obsolete to advanced civilizations billions of years ago." Captain Harris watched Admiral Wells' face remain perfectly calm despite the insult. "Perhaps we could see your ship?" Harris asked, changing the subject. The tour was both amazing and humbling. The Galactic Council vessel contained technology humans had only dreamed about: artificial gravity, faster-than-light engines, and matter converters that could create anything from raw materials. In the ship's central command, they watched a demonstration of the alien defense systems. "Our quantum shields can stop any energy attack," boasted Commander Zix, the ship's military officer. "And our disruptor cannons can target individual atoms if needed." "What about physical projectiles?" asked Harris. "Like asteroids or missiles?" Zix waved dismissively. "No one uses such primitive weapons anymore. They're too slow, too easy to detect. Our gravity wells would stop them before they came near us." As they returned to their shuttle, Admiral Wells was quiet. "They think we're children," Harris said softly. "Yes," Wells nodded. "And children are not threats. That may work in our favor." She looked back at the enormous alien ship. "They've forgotten something important." "What's that, Admiral?" "New doesn't always mean better, and sometimes old methods work when new ones fail." She straightened her uniform. "Humanity didn't survive this long by being predictable. Remember that, Captain." As their shuttle pulled away, Harris watched the alien vessel through the viewport. The Council had invited Earth to send representatives to their headquarters on a planet called Nexus Prime. There, humanity would begin the process of joining galactic society. Harris should have felt honored. Instead, he felt uneasy. In his experience, when someone laughed at your weapons, they were either fools or planning something. He wondered which applied to their new galactic friends. 6 months had passed since first contact. Earth had changed forever. Alien technology now helped clean the oceans. Diseases that once killed millions were being cured. But not everything about joining the galactic community felt like progress. Lieutenant Eric Robinson stood in the massive training hall on Nexus Prime, the capital planet of the Galactic Council. Around him, alien military officers from 12 different species practiced with their advanced weapons. Energy beams danced across the room, hitting targets with perfect accuracy. Force fields flickered as they absorbed impacts. "Your turn, human," said Kral, a large insect-like officer. His mandibles clicked in what Robinson had learned was laughter. Robinson stepped up to the firing line. He raised the standard Earth military rifle he had brought. The aliens had allowed him to keep it as what they called a cultural artifact. "Watch closely," said Robinson. "This is a standard rail gun. It fires metal projectiles at 6 times the speed of sound." A ripple of amusement moved through the gathered aliens. Robinson took aim at the target and fired 3 shots. The rifle cracked loudly. Metal slugs hit the target center with perfect grouping. There was a moment of silence, then more clicking laughter. "Charming," said Kral, "like watching someone use a stone axe. Did you bring any spears too?" Robinson kept his face neutral. "Just demonstrating our current technology." "Come," said a female alien with blue skin. "Let me show you a real weapon." She held up something that looked like a small silver tube. When she pointed it at a target, the entire target simply vanished. "Molecular disruption," she explained. "It separates atomic bonds. No sound, no projectile, no defense." In another part of the station, Science Officer Samantha Kelly was having a better experience. The aliens were eager to share their scientific knowledge, at least the basics. Today, she was learning about their faster-than-light travel systems. "The fold drive creates a pocket dimension around the ship," explained her teacher, a gas-filled being named Velm. "The ship doesn't move through space. Space moves around the ship." Kelly took careful notes. Earth scientists would need decades to understand these concepts. "Thank you," she said. "This is amazing technology." Velm's gas body rippled. "Of course, your species is young but promising. In a few thousand years, you might develop these technologies on your own." Behind the public meetings and friendly exchanges, the reality was different. In a secure chamber deep inside Council headquarters, the 12 senior representatives met in secret. "These humans are adapting faster than expected," said Council Intelligence Director Zik Sporna, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms. "Their scientific progress is impressive. They remain primitive militarily," said High Commander Xelfrak. "Their weapons are amusing relics." "Primitive does not mean harmless," warned Valatir, the Council's chief scientist. "They developed nuclear weapons much faster than other species at their stage." Zik Sporna displayed a hologram of the galaxy. A red area glowed at the outer edge. "The void continues to expand. We've lost contact with 3 more outposts. Our weapons have limited effect against them," admitted Xelfrak. "Whatever they are, they seem resistant to our energy-based systems." "Then perhaps we should use the humans," suggested Zik Sporna. "Their territory is positioned near the expansion zone. We can station them as our first line of defense." "They would be destroyed," said Valatir. "Yes," agreed Zik Sporna. "But it would give us valuable tactical data and time to prepare our real defenses." The meeting ended with a decision. Humans would be assigned to patrol the dangerous outer territories. Their ships would be given minimal upgrades, enough to reach the patrol zones, but not enough to flee them quickly. As Admiral Wells received these new orders on Earth, she studied the patrol assignments carefully. The humans were being sent to the most remote, dangerous sectors. Something wasn't right. "They're using us as cannon fodder," she told Captain Harris privately. "I don't know why, but they're sending our ships into danger while holding their advanced fleet in reserve." Harris frowned. "If they think we'll just go quietly to our deaths, They don't understand humans very well. Major Lisa Peterson stood on the bridge of the U.S. Intrepid. The ship was Earth's newest space vessel, built with some alien technology, but still mostly human in design. Through the main viewport, she watched the stars of an unfamiliar sector. "Status report," she said. "All systems normal," replied Lieutenant Frank Miller at the navigation console. "We're at the edge of the Cygnus sector as ordered." Peterson nodded. For the past month, the Intrepid had patrolled this remote area of space. She knew why they were here. Earth ships were being used as early warning systems, or bait. "Ma'am," called Communications Officer Helen Boyd, "we're receiving a distress signal from Outpost 47. Peterson tensed. Outpost 47 was a small Galactic Council research station. On screen. The main screen showed only static, but a broken voice came through. "Under attack. Weapons ineffective. They come from nowhere. Help." Then silence. "Set course for Outpost 47, ordered Peterson. "Full speed." The Intrepid arrived at the outpost 2 hours later. Where a space station should have been, there was only debris and a strange, dark mist. "Scan that, whatever it is," Peterson ordered. Ship engineer Greg Martins studied his console with growing confusion. "Ma'am, the sensors aren't making sense. That mist reads as both matter and energy simultaneously. And there's some kind of quantum fluctuation. Any life signs from the outpost crew?" Martinez shook his head. "None." As they watched, the dark mist began to move, forming into a shape. It looked almost like a ship, but it seemed to flicker in and out of existence. "It's changing," shouted Miller. The mist solidified into a vessel unlike any they had seen. It was angular, with no visible engines or weapons. Its surface seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "It's scanning us," reported Martinez. Peterson made a quick decision. "Send a message to Council headquarters. Then arm weapons." "Ma'am," said Martinez, "Council protocol says we should retreat and let their warships handle this." "Those are the same warships they're keeping safely away from here," Peterson replied. "Arm weapons." Before they could fire, the alien vessel shot first, a beam of darkness, the only way Peterson could describe it, lanced out and struck the Intrepid. The shields, built with Council technology, failed instantly. "Damage report," Peterson shouted over the alarm. "Shield generators are completely gone," Martins reported, "but hull integrity is holding." "That's strange. The Council said their shields could stop anything." Peterson made another quick decision. Fire railguns. The Intrepid's main weapons were enhanced versions of Earth's traditional weapons, magnetic accelerators that fired solid metal projectiles. The first shots seemed to pass through the alien ship as if it wasn't fully there, but the third volley connected. The alien vessel shuddered, a piece of its structure breaking away. "Direct hit," shouted the weapons officer. The alien ship turned and accelerated away, vanishing into the darkness of space. 3 days later, Peterson stood before the Galactic Council War Committee on Nexus Prime. She had just finished describing the encounter. "Impossible," said Commander Excelthrak. "No physical weapon could harm these void entities. Our energy weapons barely affect them." With respect, Peterson said, "We hit it. I have the sensor logs to prove it." Science Counselor Valatier studied the data carefully. "Fascinating. Your projectile weapons seem to interact with the phase-shifted matter of the void ships." "Phase-shifted matter?" asked Peterson. "The void exists partially in another dimension," explained Valatier. "This is why energy weapons pass through them. But solid matter, like your projectiles, can sometimes make contact when the phases briefly align." Zelthrak dismissed this with a wave. "A lucky shot. Nothing more. We will handle this threat with proper Council forces." As Peterson left the chamber, Valatier followed her. The alien scientist looked around to ensure they were alone. "Your weapons may be more effective than ours against this enemy," Valatier whispered. "Continue your research. I will help secretly. Peterson nodded. Thank you. But why secretly? Valatir's multifaceted eyes glinted. Because sometimes the oldest solutions work when new ones fail. And some on the council would rather die than admit that. Back on the Intrepid, engineer Greg Martinez stared at the samples they had collected from the debris field. Under a microscope, the material from the void ship behaved strangely. It would be solid one moment, then seem to fade away the next, only to reappear seconds later. It's like it's blinking in and out of existence, he told Major Peterson. Peterson leaned closer to look. What does that mean? I think Valatir was right about the phase shifting, Martinez said. These void ships exist in multiple dimensions at once. That's why the Council's energy weapons don't work well. They pass right through when the ships shift phases. Peterson frowned. But our railgun hit it. Exactly. Our projectiles are physical objects. They have mass. They might be able to interact with the ships during the moments they shift into our dimension. For the next 2 weeks, Peterson, Martinez, and weapons specialist Daniel Wright worked on their theory. They modified a set of railgun ammunition, adding special metals that Valatir had secretly provided. These elements have quantum properties, Wright explained as he loaded the new rounds into a test chamber. They should help the projectiles stay connected to the void ships, even when they try to phase shift. Their tests were promising. The modified ammunition could hit targets that were being phase shifted by a small device Valatir had given them. We need to tell the Council, Peterson said. But when they presented their findings to the War Committee, High Commander Selthrak was dismissive. Primitive superstition, he said with a wave of his hand. You expect us to believe that your ancient technology of throwing metal very fast can succeed where our quantum disruptors and energy cannons have failed. Admiral Wells, who had traveled to Nexus Prime for the meeting, spoke up. The evidence supports Major Peterson's theory. Evidence gathered by humans using human equipment, said Intelligence Director Zik Sporna. Hardly reliable. Science Counselor Valatir tried to support them. Their theory aligns with our understanding of dimensional physics. We should at least test it properly. The Council has already committed resources to our own solution, said Selthrak. We will deploy our newest energy weapon, the Nova Cannon, against the Void's next attack. As they left the chamber, Admiral Wells pulled Peterson aside. They're scared, Wells said quietly. They've ruled the galaxy for thousands of years with their advanced technology. The idea that our primitive weapons might succeed where theirs failed threatens their entire worldview. Peterson nodded. What do we do now? We prepare anyway, Wells replied. I'm authorizing you to modify the Intrepid and 2 other ships with your new weapons. Officially, it's for a training exercise. Back on the Intrepid, the work continued in secret. Martinez and Wright equipped the ship's railguns with the modified ammunition. Tactical Officer Olivia Scott developed new firing patterns designed specifically for the phase-shifting targets. If we time our shots to match their phase cycle, we should increase our hit rate by 80%, Scott explained. Meanwhile, reports of void attacks increased. 3 more outposts were destroyed. Then came the news they have been dreading. The Void had attacked Proxima Centauri, humanity's first colony beyond the solar system. The Council fleet is responding, Peterson told her crew. But they're 8 hours away at top speed. We could be there in 2, said Navigation Officer Alan Cooper. Peterson looked around at her crew. What she was considering went against direct Council orders. They had been told to stay in their patrol sector. The colony has 10,000 people, Martinez said quietly. Peterson made her decision. Set course for Proxima Centauri, maximum speed. Alert the other modified ships to follow us. As the Intrepid jumped to faster than light speed, Peterson sent a brief message to Admiral Wells. Testing our theory in real conditions. Will send results. The ship emerged from FTL near Proxima Centauri. The scene was chaos. 3 void ships were attacking the colony's defensive stations. Council reinforcements hadn't arrived yet. Weapons ready, Peterson ordered. Let's see if our modifications work. What if they don't? Asked Wright. Peterson's expression was grim. Then we'll be the first to know our theory was wrong. Target the nearest void ship and fire when ready. The Intrepid raced toward the battle around Proxima Centauri. Two other human ships, the Valiant and the Dauntless, followed close behind. All three had been secretly modified with the new weapons. Void ships are directly attacking the main colony dome, reported Tactical Officer Olivia Scott. Colony shields are at 20%. On the main screen, Peterson could see the three void ships. They looked like black tears in the fabric of space, their surfaces shifting and changing as they moved. Their weapons, beams of what looked like liquid darkness, cut through the colony's defensive systems with ease. "They haven't noticed us yet," said Navigation Officer Cooper. "We have the element of surprise." Peterson nodded. "Target the nearest void ship. Use the modified tracking algorithm." "Target locked," replied Scott. "Ready to fire." Peterson took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. If their theory was wrong, 10,000 colonists would die. "Fire." The Intrepid shuddered as its main railgun fired. A streak of light shot across space, a solid metal projectile moving at nearly 7 times the speed of sound, enhanced with the special metals from Valatir. The projectile hit the void ship on its rear section. Unlike previous encounters, where most shots had passed through, this one struck solid. A piece of the black ship tore away, trailing what looked like dark smoke. "Direct hit," shouted Scott. Enemy ship showing signs of damage. The crew cheered, but Peterson remained focused. "All ships, fire at will. Target their propulsion systems first." The three human ships unleashed a barrage of railgun fire. The void ships, seemingly surprised, turned to face this new threat. "They're targeting us," warned Martinez. The first dark beam struck the Intrepid, making the ship shake violently. "Shields down to 40%, reported Martinez, but hull integrity holding." The battle intensified. The human ships continued firing their modified railguns while evading the void beams as best they could. The Dauntless took heavy damage, but remained operational. Then something unexpected happened. One of the void ships exploded, not in fire, but in a strange implosion that seemed to fold space around it. "Target destroyed," Scott confirmed. The remaining void ships began to retreat, moving away from the colony at high speed. "Should we pursue?" asked Cooper. Peterson shook her head. "No, our priority is protecting the colony. Take defensive positions and prepare for another attack." But the void ships didn't return. They vanished into the darkness of space just as the first Council warships arrived. The Council commander, a reptilian named Sarlix, demanded an explanation for the human ship's presence. "We received the colony's distress call and responded," Peterson said simply. "You exceeded your patrol boundaries without authorization," Sarlix replied coldly. "And saved 10,000 lives," Peterson countered, "including 300 Council citizens who were at the research facility." Before Sarlix could respond, a message came through from Nexus Prime. It was High Commander Selthrak himself. "Major Peterson," he said, his voice tense. "Our sensors show you engage 3 void ships. Did you destroy one?" "Yes, Commander, using our modified weapons." There was a long silence. Finally, Selthrak spoke again. "Return to Nexus Prime immediately. The full Council wishes to review your tactics." After the communication ended, Martinez turned to Peterson. "That didn't sound like they were going to thank us." Peterson smiled slightly. "No, but they can't ignore the results. We've proven our theory works." Later, as the Intrepid docked at Nexus Prime, Peterson was surprised to see not just the War Committee waiting, but representatives from all 12 Council species. Their expressions were difficult to read, but Peterson sensed something had changed. Admiral Wells stood with them, a small smile on her face. "They're calling it the Proxima Miracle," Wells whispered as Peterson approached. "First confirmed destruction of a void ship. The council has been in emergency session for 6 hours. They want to know exactly how you did it. Peterson straightened her uniform. Simple, Admiral. We did what humans have always done. We adapted old ideas to solve new problems. Wells nodded. And now they're listening. The question is, what do we do with their attention? The council chamber was silent as Engineer Martinez finished explaining their weapons modifications. He had used simple terms, but the implications were clear. Human primitive weapons could hurt the Void when the council's advanced technology could not. High Commander Xelthrak looked uncomfortable. You modified metal projectiles with quantum-resonant materials to maintain coherence during phase shifts. Yes, Peterson confirmed. The projectiles can interact with the Void ships, even when they try to shift between dimensions. Science Counselor Valatir stepped forward. I provided some of the quantum materials, but the concept was entirely human. Their understanding of physical combat gave them insight we lacked. A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. Admiral Wells watched with satisfaction as the council members struggled with this new reality. We must verify these results, said Intelligence Director Zix Sporna. One destroyed ship is not conclusive proof. As if in answer to his doubts, an aide rushed into the chamber. Emergency transmission from the Centauri sector. 3 Council core worlds are under simultaneous attack by Void forces. The chamber erupted in panic. Screens activated, showing massive Void fleets attacking the planets Illoria, Faxus, and Venzel, 3 of the most important worlds in Council space. Deploy the defense fleet immediately, ordered Xelthrak. All ships with Nova cannons to the front line. For 6 hours, they watched as the Council's most advanced warships engaged the Void. Despite their technology, the alien defenders were being decimated. The Nova cannons, the Council's newest weapon, barely slowed the attackers. Our fleet at Illoria has been destroyed, reported a military officer. Faxus defenses are collapsing. Xelthrak turned to Admiral Wells, his pride clearly at war with desperation. Your ships, the ones with the modified weapons, how quickly can they deploy? We have 7 vessels with the modifications, Wells replied. They can be at Nexus Prime in 3 hours. Nexus Prime. Zixforna looked confused. We need them at the battle sites. The Void strategy is clear, Wells explained. These attacks are just the beginning. They're eliminating outer defenses before striking at the heart of the Council. Nexus Prime itself. The aliens looked at each other in alarm. Nexus Prime was the capital of their civilization, home to trillions of beings from all Council species. You believe they will attack here next? Asked Xelthrak. I would, Wells said simply. Cut off the head, and the body dies. Events proved Wells correct. 8 hours later, a massive Void fleet appeared near Nexus Prime. Over 300 black ships moved toward the planet, far more than had been seen before. The remaining Council defenses moved to intercept but were quickly overwhelmed. On the planet below, evacuation efforts began, but everyone knew there wasn't enough time. Our 7 modified ships have arrived, reported an officer. Wells nodded. Deploy them in Formation Alpha. Captain Harris will command from the U.S. Determination. On the bridge of the Determination, Captain John Harris felt a strange calm. 6 months ago, the Council had laughed at human weapons. Now those same weapons were Nexus Prime's last hope. All ships reporting ready, Captain, said his first officer. The 7 human vessels took position between the planet and the approaching Void fleet. They were outnumbered 40-1. Target the lead Void vessel, ordered Harris. All ships prepare to fire on my mark. Across all 7 ships, railguns loaded with the modified ammunition were aimed at the massive Void flagship. The human crews worked with quiet efficiency, knowing that billions of lives depended on them. Fire, said Harris. 7 shots streaked across space, each one striking the Void flagship with devastating accuracy. The enormous black ship shuddered, pieces of its structure breaking apart. In the council chamber, the aliens watched in stunned silence as the primitive human weapons tore into the enemy that their technology couldn't touch. "Again," ordered Harris. "All ships, continuous fire, spread to secondary targets." The railguns fired again and again, each volley finding its mark. Void ships began to explode, creating strange distortions in space as they died. The Void fleet, seemingly shocked by the effectiveness of the attack, began to change formation. Instead of pressing forward, they spread out, some ships beginning to retreat. "They're pulling back," reported Harris's tactical officer. "They didn't expect us to be able to hurt them." In the council chamber, Zelthrak turned to Wells. "Your weapons work. We were wrong to dismiss them." Wells nodded. "The battle isn't over yet. The Void is retreating, not surrendering. They'll be back with new tactics. Then we must be ready," said Zelthrak. "The Council formally requests Earth's full military assistance. Your weapons may be our only hope." 1 month after the Battle of Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Where once humans had stood as junior partners, they now sat at the main table. Admiral Patricia Wells occupied a seat on the Council's Defense Committee, a position no new species had been granted in over 10,000 years. The emergency session was about to begin. Representatives from all 12 Council species entered the Grand Hall, joined now by the human delegation. The mood was solemn but determined. High Commander Zelthrak stood to address the gathering. His posture, once dismissive toward humans, now showed respect. "The Void has retreated to the outer regions, but our intelligence suggests they are regrouping, not defeated," he began. "We face an enemy unlike any the Council has encountered in its long history." He turned to face the human delegation directly. "We owe our continued existence to our human allies. Their weapons, which we once mocked as primitive, proved to be exactly what was needed against this threat." Major Peterson, now promoted to colonel, sat next to Captain Harris in the human section. She listened as Zelthrak continued, still finding it hard to believe how much had changed. "Today we vote on the Defense Committee's proposal," Zelthrak announced. "The integration of human weapon designs into our fleet and the creation of a joint task force to pursue the Void to their home dimension." The vote was unanimous. Even Intelligence Director Zix Forna, once the most dismissive of human capabilities, raised his 4 hands in support. After the session, Colonel Peterson walked with Captain Harris through the corridors of the Council headquarters. Engineers were already at work modifying Council ships with human-designed railguns. "It's strange to see our primitive weapons being installed on their advanced ships," Peterson said. Harris nodded. "They're learning what we've always known. Newer isn't always better." They entered the Council's military museum, where a new exhibit was being prepared. Inside a glass case sat a standard Earth railgun, the kind that had first damaged a Void ship. Next to it were examples of the Council's most advanced energy weapons. The plaque read, "Different Paths of Evolution. The Weapons That Saved Nexus Prime." Science Counselor Valatir joined them, her multifaceted eyes catching the light. "The task force leaves tomorrow. I understand you'll be leading it, Captain Harris." Harris nodded. "The U.S. determination will lead the expedition, with a joint human council crew. We never imagined solid projectile weapons could be effective against phase-shifted entities," Valatir admitted. "Our technology took a different path, focusing entirely on energy manipulation." "Every species evolves differently," Peterson said. "Perhaps that's why the Void was so dangerous to you. They evolved to counter your specific technology. And why they were vulnerable to yours," Valatir agreed. "A valuable lesson in diversity." Later that evening, a formal reception was held to honor the human crews who had defended Nexus Prime. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from all Council species, raising glasses in toast to their human allies. Admiral Wells stepped onto the speaker's platform. The room fell silent. "1 year ago, humans were unknown to the galaxy," she began. "6 months ago, we were juniors at the table, our weapons technology considered quaint and outdated. Today, we stand as equals. She raised her glass, not because we were right and you were wrong, but because together we are stronger than either of us alone. The void attacked at what they thought was our weakest point, the gap between our different technologies. Instead, they found our greatest strength. High Commander Xelthrak stepped forward to stand beside her. In a gesture unprecedented in Council history, he bowed slightly to Wells. The Council has existed for 50,000 years, he said. In that time, we came to believe that there was only one path of advancement, our path. You showed us otherwise. He turned to address all present. In the weapons display hall, we have added something new beside the human railgun that saved Nexus Prime. It is an ancient saying from Earth that we would do well to remember. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. As the reception continued, Peterson stood by a window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the void was waiting. But now the combined knowledge of Earth and the Council would meet them. "What are you thinking about?" Harris asked, joining her. Peterson smiled. "Just that sometimes being underestimated is the greatest advantage of all."